Good morning, everyone. How you doing today? Hope you're doing well. More salary cap talk. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of this going around until there's something else to talk about because I've said it before, I'll say it again, the salary cap's kind of a big deal for us this particular offseason. If you take a look at the state of this team's roster going into the offseason, we need help. We need big help at running back. We need help at tight end. We need help at left tackle, center, possibly right tackle, three tech, possibly five tech, and cornerback. And some of those issues are going to be taken care of by outgoing free agents, bringing them back. But that's going to cost some money too. And you're not going to get to keep all those players. Some of those issues are going to be covered by the draft, but realistically, how many of those issues do you think are actually going to get covered up by rookies? We don't exactly have the greatest history of getting good things out of rookies. Even the players that we draft who go on to be good, some of them don't really do that much the rookie year. So if you want to address these issues, really address these issues, you got to do it through free agency. And the only way to do it through free agency is to find ways to create money. And I'm turning over every rock, every stone, everything I can find in front of me to try to figure out how to squeeze out more cap space. We've already done the cuts, or maybe trades, but mostly cuts. Found a lot of players that you can trim out of this roster very reasonably. And the other day we did the restructures, the players you can kick the can down the road on by redoing their current contract. So the next way to get around cap hits in 2022 would be the extension. You take a player who has a fat cap hit for this year and doesn't have another year on their contract, and you go, hey, we'll give you an extension, and then we're going to reduce the base salary of this year, kick it into future years. That way we can save some money on your cap hit for this year. That's probably the next best way to create cap space. But honestly, with this team, there are not a lot of good options for that, okay? I don't want to do it to a guy like a Bobby Wagner, obviously. I want to release Wagner. But doing it to a guy like a Carlos Dunlap, bad idea. Doing it to a guy like a Jason Meyer or a Kerry Hyder, bad idea. There are not that many players that make sense to lower their cap hit by maneuvering around the cap in this way. But I did find a couple. Okay, so the first guy, we're going to touch on this guy real quick here. It's Nick Bellore. This is a no-brainer. This has to be done, and I expect it to be done. Nick Bellore does not do enough for this team to be worth $2.75 million against the cap in a year. He's a good special teamer, but he barely plays on offense. I know nominally he can play on defense, but he doesn't really. So, sorry, I'm not paying for preseason performance here. So Nick Bellore, you got to find some way to get this cap hit down. If you want to release him and save over $2 million that way, that's fine. But I would prefer to keep him around. You just can't keep him around at that price. So if you go up to Bellore and say, hey, we're going to extend you for a couple years, maybe we even give you like a 2-year extension on top of this year, and then we restructure your deal in such a way that the cap hit for this year for you is under $2 million. Maybe you save $1 million there. Then that's cool. That's good. That should be pretty easy to do. Nick Bellore would almost certainly jump all over that. He would love to have that long-term security. But other than him, there's only one other guy who you could do this to and have it be prudent. Like I said, you could do it to Dunlap, but that's probably a bad idea. You could do it to Gabe Jackson, but that's probably a bad idea. But you could do it to Poona Ford and have it make sense. Poona Ford is relatively young. He's good. And I think his best football may still be in front of him. And he is owed almost $10 million against the cap in 2022. I'm not saying he's not worth that, but I am saying he is a one-tech who has already proven he's a very limited pass rusher. So $10 million in a year for a talented, capable one-tech, you're pushing it. I'm not saying you broke it, but you are pushing it. So, that being said, you know Poona's good. You know he's valuable. You know he's young. You know he's reliable. You know that stopping the run is important, especially in this division. So you want to keep him around, but maybe you don't want to be giving him no 10 million against the cap in 2022. So maybe you go up to him and say, "Hey, we're going to extend you through 2023 and 2024. We're going to give you that long-term security. We're going to make sure you're taken care of for at least one more year, possibly two. And in exchange, what we're going to do is take your base salary down to, from right now it's like 7.5. So you take it down to maybe 1.5, and you save 6 million. And you are taking on bigger cap hits later down the line. But this is the NFL. This is how teams do business. They keep kicking the can down the road until either they wiggle out of it by some miracle at the end, or they have to just take it one day. So this is really the only thing you could do that to me makes sense. Like you again, you can do it to some of these guys, but don't do it. It's a bad idea. You're gonna regret it. If you extend Dunlap and say, hey, we're gonna take on massive cap hits for a 37-year-old Carlos Dunlap in a few years, you're gonna regret it. But Poona Ford, I don't think you're gonna really regret it too much because again, the cap's going way up, and he's a good player. He's young. I think it's fine. So, how would you feel? Do you think it would be a good idea to go to Poona, offer him an additional 2 years on his deal, and then say we're going to take the base all the way down to 6 million, or excuse me, take the base down by 6 million, and then we are going to excuse me, I just lost my train of thought, and then we're going to apply those cap savings to this year. That would save you 6 million. And yeah, you would have to deal with it down the line, but again, cap going way up, it's cool. So let's count here. So let's look at the cuts. I said that I could say very reasonably about 28 million against the cap with some reasonable cuts. Let's be conservative and say 25 million. I found 15 million in restructures. Let's be conservative again and say 12 million, okay? So 25 plus 12, that's 37 million. You're saving another 1 million by extending Bellore, in theory, 38, and then you're saving 6 million by extending Poona, so 44. $44 million in extra cap, and I don't think we lost all that much to do it. So are you on board with this one? Give Poona Ford that extension, get that cap hit down, and deal with it later with a bigger cap. And for all we know, Poona Ford, maybe he just, I don't know. That last game, man, that last game has me all messed up because Poona rushed the passer like a superstar in that game. So that game kind of tripped me up. But I just don't think he's anything more than a one-tech, personally. But what do you guys think? What would you guys do with Poona? This is one of the last ways that I see to generate extra cap space. The only thing you could do after this would be to massively overuse void years, and you don't really want to do that. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.